Let's talk about the 14th Amendment. It's a cornerstone of American citizenship, a principle enshrined in our Constitution. It acts as the country's ultimate welcome mat, extending the promise of belonging to those born within its borders. Passed in the aftermath of the Civil War, during a period of immense national transformation, its main job was to ensure that formerly enslaved people, newly freed, were rightfully recognized and protected as citizens of the United States. It was a monumental step towards equality. It contains a powerful clause, a simple yet profound statement: all persons born or naturalized in the United States, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, meaning under the laws and authority of the nation, are citizens. A clear and unambiguous declaration. For over 150 years, this principle has shaped the fabric of American society. That's meant if you're born on American soil, regardless of your background, you're automatically a citizen of this country. No matter your parents' immigration status, whether they are citizens, permanent residents, or undocumented. This concept is called, or right of the soil, and it's a cornerstone of American identity. A fundamental aspect of what it means to be an American. It's not just an American idea. It's a principle embraced by many nations around the globe. Many countries in the Western Hemisphere, from Canada down to Argentina, follow this same principle of birthright citizenship. The only exceptions to this rule: children of foreign diplomats who are not subject to U.S. laws, or children born to members of invading armies during times of conflict. Everyone else, including kids of immigrants who have come to this country seeking a better life, whether they are documented with visas and permits or not, are considered under U.S. jurisdiction and therefore citizens at birth. The Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, definitively confirmed this understanding back in 1898 with ruling that a man born in San Francisco to Chinese parents, despite their ethnicity, was indeed a U.S. citizen by virtue of his birth on American soil. That landmark decision has served as the unwavering legal foundation for birthright citizenship in the United States ever since. For generations, this rule was settled law, automatic in its application, and largely uncontroversial in the eyes of the public. But now, in recent times, that bedrock principle, so fundamental to American identity, is increasingly under attack and facing challenges. Enter Donald Trump, poised to reshape fundamental aspects of American life. In May 2025, he wasted no time, signing an executive order with far-reaching implications. This order directly targeted the 14th Amendment, a cornerstone of American citizenship. The order instructs all federal agencies across the board to cease recognizing automatic citizenship for babies born on U.S. soil, a practice upheld for over a century. This change specifically applies to children born to parents who are neither citizens nor legal residents of the United States. It's a bold attempt to effectively rewrite the Constitution with the stroke of a pen, bypassing established legal processes. This action circumvents Congress entirely, ignoring the legislative branch's role in amending the Constitution. The justification for this order hinges on a radical and largely untested reinterpretation of the phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof," found within the 14th Amendment. The administration claims that undocumented immigrants are not fully under U.S. jurisdiction, thus their children shouldn't automatically be citizens. However, this legal theory has been widely rejected by constitutional scholars and legal experts for decades, deemed an extreme interpretation. The immediate result is widespread chaos and confusion, impacting hospitals, new parents, and state agencies, all thrown into a state of uncertainty and bureaucratic gridlock. Suddenly, the simple act of obtaining a birth certificate or a social security number for your newborn child becomes an incredibly complex process. It's transformed into a bureaucratic nightmare, filled with red tape and endless delays. The executive order demands that agencies meticulously verify the immigration status of both parents before they can even begin the process of granting citizenship documents to their newborn. Critics argue that this isn't merely a shift in policy, it represents a fundamental attack on the very foundation of constitutional rights and established legal precedent. The act of using an executive order to unilaterally redefine citizenship is widely viewed as a dangerously authoritarian overreach of presidential power. The process of changing the Constitution is explicitly designed to go through Congress, involving debate and consensus, not to be decided by a single signature on an executive order. The move is undoubtedly bold and attention-grabbing, but its legal standing is exceptionally shaky and uncertain. It's akin to your landlord suddenly demanding that you pay your rent in monopoly money, a demand with no legal basis. Unsurprisingly, this executive order is already facing fierce resistance from legal challenges and public outcry. The Trump administration claims, with increasing conviction, it's restoring the original intent of the 14th Amendment, a cornerstone of American citizenship. They believe they are returning to a more accurate interpretation of this vital piece of legislation. They argue the amendment's authors, during the tumultuous period following the Civil War, never meant to grant automatic citizenship to children of undocumented immigrants, a practice they view as an overreach of the amendment's original scope. This interpretation forms the basis of their legal and political stance. Their case rests heavily on the phrase, "subject to the jurisdiction thereof," a key clause within the 14th Amendment. They are insisting that undocumented parents aren't fully under U.S. law, and therefore, their children should not automatically be granted citizenship. This interpretation is at the heart of the legal challenge. Supporters of this view say this closes a loophole that has been exploited and protects the integrity of American citizenship for future generations. They see it as a necessary measure to control immigration. Opponents, including 22 states representing a significant portion of the country, the ACLU and numerous other civil rights groups, all vehemently disagree with this interpretation. They say the text and historical context are unequivocally clear. All persons born in the U.S., regardless of their parents' immigration status, are citizens. They argue that undocumented immigrants are indeed subject to U.S. laws in numerous and demonstrable ways, pay taxes into the system, are subject to arrest for crimes and can be sued in civil court, just like any other resident. To exclude their children from citizenship, they warn, would create a stateless underclass within American society. People born on American soil but with no recognized country to call their own. This would inevitably lead to families being split by citizenship status, children being denied basic rights and protections, and a new vulnerable population living in a perpetual state of legal limbo with uncertain futures. Critics view the proposed order as a thinly veiled political attack targeting immigrant families, designed to stoke anti-immigrant sentiment. They see it as a profound betrayal of fundamental American ideals of equality, opportunity, and the promise of citizenship for all. The debate surrounding birthright citizenship isn't just a legal technicality. It's a fundamental question about the future of who gets to belong and who is excluded from the American experiment. Both sides are digging in, preparing for a protracted and potentially precedent-setting legal fight that could reshape American society. And with the very definition of American citizenship hanging in the balance, the stakes couldn't possibly be higher. Lawsuits flew the moment the executive order was signed. States like California and New York plus the ACLU rushed to federal court to block it. Their goal, get an injunction to freeze the order before it could do harm. Federal judges quickly issued temporary injunctions, halting the order. Judges cited the clear precedent of and the plain text of the 14th Amendment. The Department of Justice appealed, arguing the president has broad power over immigration and citizenship. The administration wants the courts to defer to executive authority. Now the legal battle is moving up the judicial ladder. As of June 29, 2025, the order is on ice. Babies born here are still citizens. But this is just round one. The real showdown is coming. This fight is headed straight for the Supreme Court. Only the justices can give a final answer on whether the 14th Amendment covers children of undocumented immigrants. The 1898 Wong Kim Ark case is close precedent, but it involved legal immigrants, not the current scenario. The court must decide uphold the broad, inclusive tradition or carve out a new exception. With a conservative majority, the outcome is unpredictable. Some expect the court to side with the administration. Others believe even conservative justices won't overturn 150 years of settled law. The stakes either preserve birthright citizenship or fundamentally change who gets to be American. The country is holding its breath. The meaning of subject to the jurisdiction thereof is about to be decided, and the consequences will echo for generations. Behind the legal battle are real families like Maria and Javier's. They've lived in California for years, paying taxes and raising kids. Their two older children are citizens. Their third, due soon, faces uncertainty. The order means their newborn might not have the same rights as siblings. No birth certificate, no social security number, no health care. Imagine one child a citizen, the other not, dividing families and futures. Immigrant communities are gripped by fear. Legal aid groups are overwhelmed with calls. Doctors and hospitals don't know what paperwork to issue. Families who believed in the American promise now feel betrayed and powerless. This isn't just policy, it's trauma, inequality, and a recipe for lifelong limbo. Creating a stateless class would be a humanitarian and logistical nightmare. These are Americans in every way but on paper, denied the rights and security of citizenship. The human cost is measured in broken families and shattered dreams, and it's happening right now. The Supreme Court's decision will shape America's future. If the order is struck down, birthright citizenship is reaffirmed and families get relief. It would be a victory for civil rights, restoring stability and the principle of. It would also check executive power, reinforcing that the president can't rewrite the Constitution alone. If the order stands, tens of thousands of newborns will be denied citizenship each year. States and agencies would face a bureaucratic nightmare verifying every parent's status. A new underclass would be created, American in every way but denied rights. Poverty, instability, and exploitation would rise. The American ideal of opportunity for all would be fundamentally changed. The definition of who belongs would narrow. The stakes couldn't be higher. The executive order has supercharged the 2025 presidential campaign. For Trump and his supporters, it's a rallying cry. Proof of tough immigration policy. Republican-led states back the order, calling it a matter of national security. Democrats, led by President Biden, call it unconstitutional and a stain on the nation. The issue has mobilized both sides, immigrant rights groups, civil liberties advocates, and conservative media. Protests and rallies have erupted nationwide. Business leaders, religious groups, and legal scholars warn the policy is cruel and bad for the economy. Conservative media frames it as law and order versus open borders. Polls show deep partisan divides. The debate is everywhere, on TV, online, and at dinner tables, turning a settled principle into a national flashpoint. This isn't just about children of undocumented immigrants, it's about America's core values. Birthright citizenship says being American isn't about bloodline, but about being born into a community of shared laws. Weakening that principle changes who belongs here. If a president can reinterpret the 14th Amendment by executive order, what's next? Due process? Equal protection? Allowing this order to stand sets a dangerous precedent. Our rights become subject to political whims. A permanent non-citizen underclass would destabilize society, lower wages, and erode civic life. Democracy depends on broad participation and shared destiny. Creating a two-tiered system undermines social trust and unity. This is a fight for America's soul, inclusion and opportunity, or division and exclusion. The outcome will decide if the promise of the 14th Amendment endures. And that matters to all of us.